The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
An organization called True Leave will be making history on Tuesday as Florida's first low-THC medical marijuana dispensary to open its doors. And ABC's Kate Flixer tells us this will have a local impact. Kate?
That's right, Dwayne. The company plans to open 6 medical marijuana dispensaries around the state. And according to the website, one of those 6 will be in Bradenton.
Kathy Jordan is more than 30 years into a tough battle with the neurodegenerative disease ALS.
Life was going good, and all that happened, you start having a little bit of problem in her hands.
We had to put our hands like that.
Those problems with her hands quickly turned to loss of speech and eventually being bound to a wheelchair. That's when she stumbled on something that she says minimized her symptoms.
Her appetite was the first thing she noticed, and then the drooling in her mouth, in the corner of her mouth stopped, and the twitching. There's twitching in it, and that stopped.
The drug was marijuana, and today the couple grows their own plants in their backyard under medical necessity. That's why they were excited when the state decided to open low-THC medical marijuana dispensaries.
They're going to give you a clean, safe access to cannabis. We've been fighting for 30 years.
The Department of Health says those who qualify include patients with cancer or a condition that causes chronic seizures or muscle spasms. That doesn't include Kathy's condition, ALS. According to True Leave's website, Bradenton will be among the locations for these dispensaries. We spoke to more than a dozen people in downtown Bradenton, and all of them said they were in favor of having medical marijuana.
I don't have a problem with it. If it's used for the right reason, I really don't care.
Any place that they can have a legal marijuana medical center, it's a good thing.
But it's not without opposition. Groups like Drug Free Florida avidly oppose the drug, calling the ballot initiative a gateway to recreational use, and saying marijuana is not medicine, it's an illegal and dangerous drug. For Kathy Jordan, while it's illegal, she says it's helped her cope, and she hopes the state will allow dispensaries to sell a more potent form of the drug and add ALS to the list of ailments that qualifies a patient for medical marijuana.
I have lost control of my life. I'm still me, and I'm not going to stop being me. I'm now fighting for other people.
This is going to be a big topic come November. A ballot initiative called Amendment 2 proposes expanding medical marijuana use to include illnesses like HIV, PTSD, and ALS.
It's the Full Metal Show.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Yes. We're back on the air once again for another edition of the Full Melt Show. I'm Steve Green, your host. Welcome to the program. Normally with us, or maybe not normally with us, sometimes with us, sometimes not with us. I'm not sure yet. Starting to irritate the hell out of me. You know, just as a sideline, because I want to get back to this beating the drum war thing. Beating the drum of the drug war. Beating the drum war. They're out there beating those tom-toms of that drug war louder than ever before. It's almost like, you know the Jaws theme song? Let me see if I can look it up. You know the Jaws theme song. Yeah, that thing. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, dang it. All right. We'll get back to that later. We'll get back to the beating of the drug war's drums momentarily, because this whole piece that you just heard from Bradenton, Florida, about medical marijuana going live tomorrow, Tuesday. It'll be the first time a medical cannabis store has been open legally in Florida. in 80 years or more. And so we'll get back to that in a second. It normally what I started to say when I introduced myself, I would want to introduce, boy, I just thought about something and it's funny, but it's not funny. Okay, it's funny. I was going to say my partner in crime, but that's so not true and so inappropriate. It's a cliche that does not apply here. Normally, it's used, rhetorically. I'm so and so. Here's my partner in crime. Wait a minute. Really? Mad Blaster by night is absent this day from the chair sitting across from me now. He should be here. I don't know what Mad Blaster's thinking. He's hardly mad or hardly blasting or hardly blasting and mostly mad. I'm not sure. But he's not here, so I'm disappointed in the Mad Blaster by night. Because here it is night, and he is not madly blasting on the air. Or anywhere for that matter. Who knows what he's doing. But he's assured me that he will be here tomorrow. That being said, I still want to get back to the drug war thing. Do we have, what time, how much time do we have? It's, yeah, do we have enough time to play this thing? I think we do. I'm going to play this first. If I can find it here. Here we go. This is, so the Florida thing, reserve that for a minute. You know that they're opening dispensaries in Florida. 6 of them. Starting in Bradenton there. I don't know if it's starting there, but that's from whence the story came. And so the idea is that, hey, it's a new day in Florida. I am not going to besmirch them that. What I will besmirch them and draw you the difference between, say, Florida and Michigan, the 2 peninsulas of this great continental United States. Aside from, Maine would make an excellent peninsula. My sniggerette keeps going out, so I keep having to relight it. Now that they put carpet glue in the sniggerettes to keep them from burning on, like they just go out. They're self-extinguishing cigarettes mandated by Congress. Go ahead, put that carpet glue in there. Nobody cares. They're going to die of lung cancer anyways. See? This business between Florida and Michigan, the difference between the two is that, and I made this point on the last show, that Florida is indeed done legislatively. Their whole medical marijuana program there was done by the Florida conservative Republican legislature. And it's vastly different from the program that the people of the state here in Michigan, through a citizens' initiative, voted for on the ballot in 2008. These guys came on the bandwagon following Sanjay Gupta's weed reports talking about the kids with epilepsy, and then got a little bit more educated and included a couple of other smaller things on there, and also included room for something that they don't have here in Michigan, is the dying. There's no medical marijuana permission for the dying here in Michigan. In Florida, it's in fact the only group of people who are allowed to have full-strength THC cannabis, like the kind that you can buy at any dispensary locally here in Michigan, in any of the dispensaries. And in most of the dispensaries around the country, save a few, like Florida, that just have these low THC or oil-only laws. Low THC cannabis or low THC concentrate, talking about CBD oil, in their states. Now listen to this piece from Michigan. Do we have enough time? I don't think we have enough time. Damn it. 10, 11, 12. Yeah, there's not quite enough time. It would just be too long. This is like a 6-minute piece here. I didn't realize it was quite that long. But so the difference in access in Michigan to Florida is pretty obvious, isn't it? Right there on its face. You can go here if you've got your medical cannabis card and you're an adult, or if you've got your medical cannabis card and you've got your permission to have your card through your parents, and then your parents have to come in and get it for you. Actually, they can't even come in and get it for you. I suppose they're supposed to grow it themselves. I think parents are doing that, though. Going in, parents in Michigan who have kids in the medical marijuana program are indeed going in and acquiring cannabis at dispensaries. And what's wrong with that? I ask you. These are concentrates. They're not getting these kids high. And if they were, I wouldn't care anyways, because the thing that it's getting rid of is much worse than any kid anywhere at any time ever getting high. End of story. You know, the old adage goes, if the cure is worse than the disease, then don't accept the cure. It's so much the case with today's pharmaceutical companies. I mean, you see these commercials on television, and you hear them on the radio especially on television, though. I mean, we're bombarded on television, especially during the news hour, with prescription drug commercials. And the prescription drug is only designed to cure one thing, isn't it? You know, so let's say it's omeprazole. Omeprazole is it's the Prilosec. Prilosec is omeprazole. So if you're taking Prilosec, generally you've got that GERD thing going on. You're burping up the gastric juices. It's burning your throat. It's causing some problems with swallowing, etc. You get to gastric reflux. And so you take the omeprazole, or if you're taking the brand name, you're taking the Nexium. Yeah. Or the Prilosec. I think it's a Nexium. That stuff will actually, reverse some stuff. But if you look at the list of side effects listed at the end of the commercial, often, see, again, the drug is only designed to fix one thing. But the side effects, maybe this and this and this, and baldness and sterility and, low sex drive and oily farts, and God knows. I think I just want the heartburn. Back with more after this.
You're getting the Full Melt.
If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
That's what's been going on. There's been some civil litigation involving eviction. I'm trying to say I have a big, mean, vicious dog. C-I-L, my landlord. Have you ever heard that sketch before?
No, I can't say I have.
Here we go.
Dark and lonely on the summer night. Kill my landlord. Kill my landlord.
Oh.
Watch dog barking. Do me bite. Kill my landlord. Kill my landlord.
I'm sorry. I'm upset, I get lost. I'll get lost in a sea of verbiage.
Do you want me to keep like a fly swatter on hand or something?
Go ahead. Just give me the smack.
You went off there for a minute.
Just give me the smack, and I'll be like,
right on the back of the head. It's okay, guys. I'll keep them in line next time. I promise.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
We need coffee.
Got it right here.
Cups.
12-ounce, 8-ounce recyclable.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters, K-cups.
Hazelnut, French vanilla, French roast, dark, light, medium, bold, extra bold.
And decaf.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
No reason. Free shipping for awards members every day. Staples, make more happen.
Play-Doh Compound can help kids practice communication skills. Start by presenting the visual of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
It's the Full Melt radio show.
Radio show.
So these people are making me mad. I mean, just really upsetting me. Not difficult to do if you start babbling on with a bunch of crap designed from the 1920s with a stupid prohibition message. It really bothers me. Excuse me. It really bothers me when people suffer the price of bad policy. And given the distance in time, I mean, look at the innovation that has been made in commerce in this country since the 1920s. You went from the Model A automobile, right? Or the Model T? I guess it was a Model T in the 20s. And now you got, you're rolling around in your SUV or your Cadillac Supreme or whatever the hell you got going on. You got the internet in your car. You got Bluetooth wireless, your automatic transmission, your luxury air conditioning and temperature, control. The back seat's different temperature than the front seat. Doesn't matter if everybody's too cold because I got the heater on under my seat. It's keeping my back and my butt warm. So everybody else can have the air conditioning. I don't care. I mean, the difference between the two is humongous, isn't it? Policy. I look at policy. What's changed in policy since then? It's embarrassing, isn't it? Why would we allow this in our country to happen this way? Why would we let policy fall behind innovation in commerce? Especially when the commerce is dependent upon the policy. You can't go sell goods and, services and have a good economy if you don't have good policy that underpins all that stuff. This is what we're having a federal election about right now. No matter which side of the fence you're on or whether you're sitting on the fence. I think a lot of people are just on the fence. Like, look, I don't want that side and I don't want that side. I'm good right here on the fence. The fact of the matter is that no advancements have been made in drug war policy since that time. We created all that crap then, and we drug it forth into the present. The same lumpy bag of bricks. You didn't put no wheels under them. You didn't make it. You didn't grease the track. You didn't do anything innovative to make that lumpy bag of bricks either more effective or easier to drag along. In fact, it's just gotten heavier and more burdensome. That's what we've done with policy here in our country. It's the same thing if you want me to. I could go right down the line, talk about education, same way. Here's a good example. You know what the whole reason that we have a summer vacation is for students? The entire premise of the idea of having a summer vacation for children from school in this country originated around agriculture. Look, you had to have the kids home working on the farm, or else we don't have a farm. So all the kids are coming home, work on that farm. When you're done working on the farm, you go back to school. That's exactly what they did until they needed to work on the farm again. And there was your summer vacation, working on the farm. Tell me how many students are leaving school to go home and work on the farm 70 years later, 100 years later, 150 years later. I mean, really 200-year-old policy. And we've rooted people right around all that stuff. The teachers' unions, and they all they don't want to go back to a full school year because they get 3 months off when they get paid during the summer. I mean, it's just lunacy. Greed often creates bad public policy. There's a good example of it right there. The teachers' unions not wanting to, promote the idea of a full school year. People not getting involved enough to make their children at school not much more than, going to a glorified babysitter. Really. These are more disciplinarians and warehousing of children in school than teaching anymore sometimes. Because you can't control the kids. It's just gotten out of control. Back to the focus. This idea about Michigan. I'm also going to run out of time of playing this piece. I've got to play this piece. It's like 6 minutes long. But I'm not. It's going to be a little bit longer because I might stop it a little bit. Here, this is from Wood TV in Grand Rapids.
2008, voters in Michigan
Grand Rapids, Michigan.
The use of medical marijuana in our state. In the years since, treatment experts who work closely with teenagers in West Michigan say perception of the drug continues to change among young people.
Counselors and prosecutors say teens have a relaxed perception about marijuana and that young people tell them it's easily accessible, inexpensive, and not that dangerous.
And that's the focus of Miranda Where You Live this afternoon, and here's a preview.
We're here at the Muskegon County Courthouse, and we're going to talk about pot, what's really happening in West Michigan. Sergeant, you're out on the streets every day.
Okay, wait a minute. So I just got to say this first of all. This is a middle-aged woman who does this kind of, feature interview for an afternoon program there in West Michigan. She's standing there in a dress. And where did they go to figure out to talk about pot? Well, it's the courthouse. Going to the courthouse to talk about pot. And they've got a female officer and somebody else who looks like they must be from the prosecutor's office because he's wearing a suit and a bow tie with a butch haircut. The officer lady's got a butch haircut too. Just saying. This is where they go to discuss this conversation. But this is, to this day, putting nails, hammering down the boards on the porch of this drug war drum. They're beating that drum. They're hammering down the corners, trimming that lawn right now. To this day, making sure they drag that lumpy bag of bricks along.
What are we seeing when it comes to young people and marijuana?
Marijuana has greatly evolved. It's not your typical parents' marijuana that they used to smoke in the 70s and 80s.
Okay, there it is. Okay, this is going to go on and on, so I'm just going to let it go.
It has changed, adapted to significantly maybe double, triple the amount of THC. It comes in forms like gummy bears, e-cigarettes. They can vape this butane hash oil into shatter.
While they're talking about this, while she's describing this, they're showing all these police photographs of different kinds of BHO, and they're clearly not taken by the police. These are many times pictures they've gathered from the internet and other places. You can clearly tell by the nature of the pictures that that's how they were, gotten. Because, some of this is in process. Some of this is still bubbling from the gas escaping.
Okay, these things you're saying sound like something that drug addicts would use. Are regular teenagers using butane?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, so now that just drives me insane. So the very nature of the question is biased. And misunderstood. It's an uneducated question. And the answer is also incorrect. So the question, I'll repeat it for you. The reporter asks the female officer the question. So this looks like stuff like, drug abusers would use, drug addicts would use. Are teenagers using butane? And she says, absolutely. That's not true at all. There is nothing true about that statement, and the basis of the question is so flawed, it's insane. I understand what they're trying to do here, but these are people from an uneducated place. This is like, going to the zoo and trying to explain to the zookeepers how to take care of the animals. Wait, shouldn't you put that wolf in a doghouse? Let the zookeeper take care of the wolf. The zookeeper knows about how to take care of wolves. Your question is out of line. We're not putting the wolf in a doghouse.
All right, so what's your message?
That you need to be well aware of what is out there, that marijuana can come in all different shapes and forms. Parents need to acknowledge it. If they see their kids chewing on gummy bears, they need to ask questions.
Okay, now this is just another silly thing. And actually just rooting fear in the hearts of parents. Look, if your kid is chewing on gummy bears, you better be running to make sure that he's not having poop in the middle of the night. Because some of those gummy bears, like the Haribo gummy bears, go eat a bag of those and see how quick you run to the bathroom. The sugar substitute in there is a laxative. And the thing is that the reason that I say this is because you're more likely, because she just says this, if you see your kid chewing on gummy bears, you better, wait a minute. So just say, for example, your worst nightmare comes true and some kid got a hold of an edible, because these things are expensive. They're not cheap. These are $5 and $10 a piece. They're not going to be laying around in a bowl or in a bag somewhere. You may grab an edible. If you happen to find somebody's stash, you might find 2 or 3 edibles. Right? So this idea of your kid chewing on gummy bears, heck, for that matter, if by the time you found him chewing on gummy bears, they'd be fast asleep. Chewing on gummy bears. Every kid that goes out to the candy store and grabs a bag of gummy worms or gummy bears is now suddenly going to be a pot suspect. It's nonsense.
Value those gummy bears. Where'd you get them? Ask lots of questions. Find out what's truly going on.
Wow. All right. So you're here in the courtroom as a prosecutor. What are some of the key things you're seeing in how we've kind of changed our perceptions of marijuana?
Well, marijuana is still an illegal substance, first and foremost, even in the forms that the sergeant talked about. We do have medical marijuana, but that requires a specific card. It requires you to go through a doctor-patient type relationship. And minors aren't allowed to get a card unless mom and dad sign off on it. And so I think one of the key things is that kids need to understand that there are still some criminal consequences by either using, possessing, or manufacturing. And as you go up the chain, it becomes a little more serious. So if you're manufacturing, whether it's growing marijuana or making the oil that turns into a brownie or a gummy bear, that's a felony. If you're possessing it, certainly that is a misdemeanor as well as using it. But it puts you in the courtroom. It basically lets us, court officials, kind of help determine your future. And as I always tell kids, do you want me to be the guy?
Wait. That's the whole thing, isn't it, right there? Isn't this the exertion of power and authority over people? Hey there, youngin'. We're going to start to determine your future for you. If you don't stay away from them gummy bears, that might have some marijuana in there.
It's determining what your future looks like, or do you want to control your own destiny? And so I think what parents and kids need to understand is that we do still take it very seriously. It's still illegal, and you will get charged for it.
When you are out there, you're seeing kids are you seeing it younger and younger? Are you seeing it used in homes more frequently? What's actually happening?
Okay, that's a stupid question, you old bat. Are you seeing it out there? Are you seeing it used in homes more frequently? Can you come up with an original reporter's question? One that has meaning? One that somebody can actually answer besides the mumble jumbo that's going to come out of this lady's mouth? And I use that word loosely.
The age of kids is getting younger because of all the medibles and the edibles that are out there and available to them.
Okay, so there are medibles and edibles out there. Which ones did I get? Did I get the medibles or did I get the edibles? Because I'm not sure. I'm confused about whether or not I got a medible or an edible, because it sounds like they're both out there.
Overall perception of marijuana is going down. These kids think that because mom and dad use it, because Johnny next door uses it, it's an acceptable behavior for us to use it also.
Though, are there dangers? I guess let's discuss that. Is it addictive? Is it something that's going to get a kid in trouble? Can people manage their use?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest myths.
Again, I just have to take issue with this old baddie reporter out there in Grand Rapids. I'm sorry, Wood TV in Grand Rapids. This lady needs to study up on the subject matter she's talking about before she sticks a microphone in an official's face and asks an idiot question.
That we hear is that, well, marijuana is not an addictive substance. And in my years of experience in working with the drug teams and working with the officers on the street, we see marijuana as a gateway drug. And so it starts with smoking some weed or whatever, and then it turns into prescription pills, heroin, cocaine. And I've talked to several addicts and people that have come through this court system. And
okay, wait a minute. The people that come through the court system are addicts, right? They're all the addicts. That's who you pump through there, right? You're not taking Johnny come lately I raped somebody or Johnny come lately I killed somebody through there too much, I see.
They always seem to tell me that, well, I started by smoking some weed, and then all of a sudden it turns into something a little bit larger. And so, yeah, marijuana is an addictive substance by far, and it is not a victimless crime.
Okay, see, they make these statements like this because he says nothing after that. Marijuana is not a victimless crime. Who is the victim? Is it the seed the victim because it got cracked open and a plant came up out of there? Because I really want to know who the victim is. It doesn't seem to be. It seems like the only victim is the person that you're persecuting in a court of law over a plant, isn't it?
So, best advice for kids and parents. I'd like it from both of you.
Best advice to parents is be nosy. These kids don't have any privacy in your own home. You need to be well informed. You need to ask questions. And you just need to make sure that your kids are keeping on the straight and narrow, that you're well aware of what they're doing.
What about a message for kids?
The kids this is not something that you want to play with. This is not something that you want to dabble in marijuana. There's much greater things out there that you can do with your life than to start on this path. It's just a downward spiral.
Yeah, it's a downward spiral because you're there downward spiraling it, you dumb bitch.
What about you?
Well, certainly for parents, educate yourself. Don't fall on the sort of, well, it's just marijuana, because it's not. It is, as the sergeant said, it has evolved and it's become more potent, more dangerous. So take some time and educate yourself. For kids, don't ruin your future. Plain and simple. You don't want to experiment with something that either is going to change the course of your life because you become addicted to it or addicted to something else, or you end up in the criminal justice system, and then those doors of opportunity start to close.
Oh, God, I can't stand it anymore. We're going to break. We'll be right back on the other side with something that actually makes sense.
You're getting the full melt.
Attention. Get ready to write down a very important number.
Michael does not know how to fail. Second place is loser.
If you have a medical marijuana case and need legal representation, call the best, attorney Michael Comorn.
He's very passionate in the courtroom.
Getting the best outcome requires quick legal action, and it needs to start with one call, toll-free to attorney Michael Comorn. 800-656-3557. Write it down, 800-656-3557.
Michael Comorn gave us our life back.
Attorney Michael Comorn. Vigorous criminal defense.
I've seen things no man should bear, and those that every man should dare. From the beaches of Normandy to the far reaches of the earth. In my life, I have lived millions of lives. I've outrun robots and danced with dinosaurs. I've faced the faces of fear and fortitude, and witnessed great beauty in the making. I've kept the company of kings and queens, but I'm no royalty or saint. I've traveled, trekked, wandered, and roamed, only to find myself right where I belong.
Jeep. See your authorized Jeep retailer for details on how you can become a Jeep owner.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki.
Sacred Elements.
Raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dort Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Play-Doh Compound can help kids practice communication skills. Start by presenting the visual of the letter or word. Then ask them to mold the Play-Doh compound into the shape of the letters. It's an effective way to foster speech and even writing.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dort Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
I take my pills and I'm happy all the time. I'm happy all the time. I'm happy all the time. Love my girl, but she ain't worth the price. She ain't worth the price. No, she ain't worth the price.
All right, I want to know if it's just me. Is it just me? Has the whole world gone bonkers? Senator Lindsey Graham said it best. He said, I think my party's gone batshit crazy. Your party has gone batshit crazy, by the way. The whole thing with Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Convention, that whole thing is crazy. Have you seen what happened? I mean, Debbie Wasserman Schultz stepping down on the eve of the thing that she's planning for all year long as the head of the Democratic National Congress there, the DNC. She is like the party leader, kind of. She is the one that spearheads that whole thing. The whole Democratic Party is basically led by her. And then some emails come out. Somebody posted up on WikiLeaks. They hacked the DNC's email and found out that Wasserman Schultz and also Donna Brazile, who's taken over for Wasserman Schultz because she's had to step down now. She's had to resign. Isn't even speaking tonight or any other night. She didn't gavel in. She didn't gavel out. She did the walkthrough, embarrassingly, in front of live television cameras, and then couldn't actually do the thing because she knew she'd get booed off the stage by Bernie supporters for sticking it to the hind end of that old man. Because if it weren't for the efforts of her and as the head of the DNC trying to, deflate the tires of the Sanders campaign, perhaps we'd be in a different place at the convention. But now Donna Brazile has taken over temporarily, so she's the one that gabbled everything in, and she'll gavel everything out. And then they'll have to elect a new party head, aside from whatever, if they end up choosing a presidential nominee. And again, this whole thing is crazy. What's crazier is that in the state of California, or I'm sorry, state of Colorado, there was this whole business last week. Remember the big panic, the big scare? Hugo, Colorado, don't go there and drink the water. It's like Flint, Michigan, except it's full of pot. You're going to go there and you're going to get stoned if you drink the water. Everybody's got to stop drinking the water in Hugo, Colorado. As it turns out, there's nothing wrong with the water. It was probably the guy that took the samples, dropped a little of his weed in there. That's probably what happened. Because they calling off all the dogs. The story's right here. It's in the Inquisitor at Inquisitor.com. Last week we talked about it. We really didn't go over the story, but town of Hugo, Colorado, had to put an end to its marijuana water quandary recently. Contrary to what earlier field samples had shown, consequential laboratory testing demonstrated there was no THC, the psychoactive chemical in cannabis, in the Hugo's water supply. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office stated Saturday. That's the whole story right there. Retraction. No, but I could have told you this was the case because THC is not water soluble, you idiots. You could put THC concentrate in an oil form, because that's what it is. It's an oil. You couldn't put it as a tincture. It would also cause a problem because alcohol and water will kind of mix together. But, if alcohol's in the water, you're not going to drink that either because you can smell it. I'm just saying you could put THC concentrate, as you know it, in directly into the water. And then swish it around, like right into the beaker that you're going to test. Swish it around real good, and then pull it back out. And there will be no THC in that water. Because it's oil and water. They don't mix. One's a solid. At that temperature, it's a solid. It's not going to mix with that water. It's like trying to stick a candle in there and swish it around and see if there's any wax left in the water. Of course there's no wax left in the water, you idiot. Everybody's getting high on the Hugo water supply. It's just ridiculous. So then the other crazy thing, what else was going on that was crazy? There was another story that just seemed like, this was what it was. Turning the other cheek. This is in the Cannabis. It's probably something that was reprinted or inspired from someplace else. I'm just looking to see if, Associated Press. So it's a reprint from the Associated Press. But I'm reading to you as the story appeared at thecannabis.co. Turning the other cheek, legislature aware part of Ohio medical marijuana law unconstitutional. So this is kind of like what Michigan does with the People's Initiative. Michigan's like standing there. The people that are in charge of our legislature and have been ever since the medical marijuana law went into effect, because it went from a Democratic-controlled House and I guess it really wasn't. I think one of the arms of the legislature was controlled by Republicans, I think, at that time, in 2008. But the governor was certainly Governor Granholm, Democrat. The attorney general was still a Republican, Mike Cox. When we first voted this in, and then in 2010 we had the election for the governor. And by the way, in the 2008 election, we hired Attorney General Bill Schuette. And so Schuette took over and, Schuette took over and Swiss cheesed the law and got a bunch of case law, to say that, you can't have your medical pot here in Michigan. And your dispensaries, you can't have them at all. Basically anybody growing weed in Michigan now under medical issue or not, subject to immediate inspection by the police. They just made a couple of changes in a couple of words in the law and got 3/4 of the legislature. Look, the legislature couldn't agree together collectively in both houses with a 3/4 majority on anything for 30, 40, 50 years. It was the 1970s when they did the bottle deposit law. Put a dime on every can. Back in the 70s, that was a lot of money. That was like putting 50 cents or 40 cents on a can today. It is. That was a lot of money. People were up in arms about it. Mostly, really the citizens weren't. It was a citizens initiative. It was just like the medical marijuana law that they did. couldn't get that repealed with a 3/4 agreement in both houses for the life of them. Every year they bitch about that law, the business community, because they hate collecting those cans and bottles here. They just hate it with a passion. They got to do it, though. You want to sell that stuff, you got to be responsible and let people recycle in an efficient way. People aren't going to do it unless you put some money on it. Put your money where your mouth is and you get the recycling done. This is what people have figured out. Business communities hate it, never could get it done. This they managed to do in a few short years. Got everybody together and said, oh, we're going to change this and this and this, and everybody agrees, and so it is written, so it has been done. Just screw you people that said otherwise, that wanted to write this a different way. We changed it on you, like it or lump it, that's the way it's going to be. I'd like to get Jeff Hank on and talk about am I legalized and see what's changed now. But this business in, according to the cannabis, this is in Ohio they're talking about from the Associated Press, Dateline, Columbus. This story was published July 25th. Apparently unconstitutional portions of the Ohio medical marijuana law, which set aside a percentage of the state's pot licenses for minorities, were spotted during legislative debate, but left in the bill to gain needed votes, a key lawmaker says. Senator Bill Seitz, a Cincinnati Republican, says legally prickly provisions exposed by the Associated Press in June may require changes. The law takes effect September 8th, at which point a new panel will begin laying out a blueprint for how the industry will work. I certainly think it's something the Medical Marijuana Advisory Committee ought to take a look at, Seitz said, because we're not just talking about government contracts, but government licenses. Changes might wind up in a marijuana corrective bill that emerges in the lame duck session. So they're looking at fixing this legislatively because something is not passing the constitutional benchmark. In fact, the benchmarks are contained in legislation that was fast-tracked by the Republican-controlled legislature to head off a medical marijuana proposal that was on its way to Ohio's fall ballot. Ohio's the 25th state to legalize medical cannabis. They require at least 15% of Ohio's cultivator, processor, retail, dispensary, and laboratory licenses to go to the businesses of one of 4 economically disadvantaged minority groups, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, or Native Americans, so long as adequate numbers apply. So there you go. Minority Democrats saw the provisions, and you might see them make some changes. Going to make some changes now that we had to jam this through, so that we had to head off your initiative to get this done by people's vote.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a NoSmell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about NoSmell technology at NoSmell.com. If you missed the last Full Melt show,
you missed a lot.
The 2016 law also allows the dispensing organizations to grow full-strength pot, which will be available to terminally ill patients, right? We were just talking about
the ones on hospice, yes. So in Florida, I have to be on my deathbed to get some regular, what I would consider regular THC marijuana.
The stuff that you can go to Flint or Lansing or Ann Arbor or Detroit and get.
Lake.
Tune into the Full Melt Show, Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on thefullmelt.com.
Full Melt.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio Show.
You can normally catch the Full Melt Show Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Got on the air a little bit late tonight. On thefullmelt.com, and we're also on iTunes. You can hear us in many various and sundry places across the internet as we are syndicated. In Springfield, Massachusetts, some crap's going down. None of this is a surprise to me. Is it to you? Massachusetts cities and towns are exacting increasingly hefty payments from medical marijuana dispensaries in exchange for letters the companies need to win state licenses. A Globe review of recent compact shows. This is at thebostonglobe.com. In Worcester, a dispensary promised to pay the city $450,000 over 3 years and $200,000 a year after that if officials gave their blessings to the business. In Springfield, the city is negotiating a deal that would ultimately take 7% of a dispensary's revenue plus a $50,000 annual donation to the police department, a pact that could amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in Salem, where the first dispensary opened a year ago, the medical marijuana shop contributed $82,856, a paltry amount compared with more recent deals. It's quite clear, quoting now, James E. Smith, a Boston attorney who represents a marijuana company that signed one of the larger agreements in March with the city of Worcester, quoting him, it's quite clear if you don't negotiate an agreement, you don't get a letter. This phenomenon, which some called pay-to-play, which is clearly what it is not typically seen with marijuana licensing in other states and will drive up the costs of doing business while siphoning money away from the dispensaries that could be used to lower prices for needy patients, advocates said. But local leaders contend the negotiations and lucrative contracts are needed to ensure their municipalities have the money to deal with unforeseen problems from dispensaries. Oh, God, what could those be? They say the true cost for allowing these businesses, such as extra traffic and the need for additional police services, are still unknown. 4 years after voters approved marijuana for medical use, just 6 dispensaries have opened, while 174 other applications inch through the process. Advocates for medical marijuana say protracted negotiations over escalating contract costs are a prime culprit for the delays, and the story goes on. It says here the requirement was intended to give cities and towns a say in the process. I'm not aware of another state that has such a hard line as Massachusetts in requiring the community letter in the licensing process. You see, that's what they did there. That's how they got this deal done there. They said, look, we're going to give you guys a say in this. In order for you to get a license in this state, you got to get a letter from your local city. And this is exactly what's being proposed here in Michigan by our state's legislature. You can get a dispensary license in the state, but in order for you to even apply, you first have to come with that letter in the application. It is a prerequisite. And what they're doing, these cities, is not saying, okay, well, we approve or we don't approve. What they're doing is say, yeah, hell yeah, we approve if you give us $500,000. Hell yeah, we approve if you build a commemorative park in our names. Hell yes, we approve if you give all of our people in need $20,000 each, in addition to a big $200,000 a year licensing fee. then we'll give you that letter. Sign this deal, sign this agreement. Basically, it's a new mortgage on top of the other mortgages that you had to make with the state and just the property. And we're still not talking about the other costs of doing business, say staffing the place or providing electricity or other essentials. Hell yeah, we'll give you that letter. Make this big lucrative deal for us and we will give you that letter. You don't see them doing this to the local liquor establishments. They'll open up one right next door. Right next door to the school, they'll open up a liquor store or a store that sells liquor, like a pharmacy with a liquor license. Nobody says boo about that. Nobody held them over a barrel to milk them of what they could get. Yeah, you had to pay for your liquor license, but it was probably like more in the line of, $10,000 or $20,000 at the most with your local establishment, with your local township. That's what if you bought the license up front, just established the license, that's probably what it cost you somewhere in that neighborhood. But it's not going to cost you the $200,000 they're talking about here. $200,000? And really, aren't you really, through incentive, giving somebody pause and reason to sell possibly as much marijuana as they can to meet the demands burdened by such a fee? Aren't you really pouring marijuana into the community by making them sell so much to pay your hefty, burdensome fee so they could get a license letter? Is that what's going on? Seems to me it is. The requirement was intended to give cities and towns a say in the process. Hell yeah, it gave them a say. It gave them a contractual say. You don't get your license from the state unless we give you our chit, and you're not getting our chit unless you sign on the dotted line and pay into that drawer right there. In other states, Fine said, state regulators grant a license and then municipal officials are able to address concerns about traffic and security through local zoning and permitting. Michael Cutler, a Northampton lawyer who's represented patients and companies in marijuana-related cases, said payments to municipalities drive up the cost of treatment. Whose hide does this money come out of? The costs are passed on to the patients, he said. Aside from marijuana dispensaries, casinos, and waste landfill businesses, host agreements are not typically used in Massachusetts, according to Jeffrey Beckwith. Jeffrey Beckwith is the executive director of the Massachusetts Municipal Association. They are generally put in place for uncommon regulated industries, not something like a pharmacy, but something that is more unusual than that, like a medical marijuana dispensary, where it's a restricted substance, Beckwith said. Several municipality leaders said the prices they set in their agreements were intended to cover extra police or other services needed at the dispensaries. But Fine and other attorneys said the ante has surpassed that benchmark. There's never been a police incident at one of these 6 open dispensaries, and they carry less drugs than CVS. But cities and towns say it will take extra police, Smith said. You see where they go with this? This is how corrupt people are in our government. The deal that Smith's client, Good Chemistry of Massachusetts, signed with Worcester calls for the company to pay the city an escalating percentage of revenue over 3 years, in addition to a $450,000 payment. Good Chemistry will also contribute $10,000 annually to public charities. After the 3rd year and for every year after its dispensary stays open, the company agreed to pay Worcester $200,000 annually plus 2.5% of its total sales revenue. Good Chemistry also agreed to pay property taxes and promised never to apply for a reduction or elimination of taxes because of its not-for-profit status, which would otherwise have allowed it to claim an exemption. It's so corrupt. Worcester's city manager said that he does not believe the city will need extra police or other services when the dispensary opens, and that he intends to use the money from Good Chemistry to sustain a financially struggling after-school and summer youth program. He said Worcester settled on the amount it required from Good Chemistry after studying contracts other cities and towns signed with marijuana companies, and factoring in these intense competitions for a coveted letter from Worcester. 9 companies vied for letters, and Augustus, the city manager, said the city will grant 4, issuing similar financial conditions for each. The market will dictate at what point it is not financially viable for them to sign host agreements that are above a certain number, he said. It's up to the companies to say that it's not sustainable. And so, really, they're just milking these people so they go out of business and then say, there you go. That's how it's going to be in our town with your medical marijuana businesses. We laugh all the way to the bank. You close your doors. There is no safe access. Ha-ha. Until tomorrow, hopefully with Mad Blaster by night, I'm Steve Green for The Full Melt Show.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.